I like it. I like it. I like what we're doing.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Stogie Geek Show. Want to, before I introduce the next segment, say that this segment is brought to you by the Havana Cigar Club. Make sure you mark it on your calendars. They're having an event with Kurt Kendall of 724 Cigars on February 26th. You can register for this event at the Havana Club homepage at havana-cigar-club.com. $15 for this event with cigars and food, and it's $10 for members. That's February 26th. So I'm going to turn it over to Will for our discussions on what is a puro, or puro, as we say in
puro.
Spanish, right?
Adam's saying
Over to you, Will.
Puro.
the goop.
Yep, a puro.
Puro.
So, actually, when I, you guys can hear me?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I can hear you
Okay.
fine.
So this was an interesting, so when I was looking at doing something on puros, we talk a lot about puros, and a lot of the definition of a puro that we're all kind of accustomed to is tobaccos from the same country. And in fact, we were even talking about the verite earlier, where it kind of goes a step further, where
Right.
it's from the same farm and that same crop from the farm.
Think about that.
But when I was reading Paul's notes on here, Paul, you had a really interesting spin on this, and I think I'd like for you to talk a little about that. You wrote some interesting comments here in terms of the puro.
Yeah, I think they're largely misunderstood, right? Because there's so many factors that affect flavor in respects to when we frame the discussion around puros, right? There's the plant type. There's the fermenting process that happens once you pick the leaves. And then there's the priming of where you pick the leaves from the plant that all play into the equation. So while we say a puro is tobaccos that all come from the same country, it's kind of like a trick, right? As the leaves can come from different plants within the same country. They can come from different growing regions within the same country. And then there's a different fermentation process and different primings, all coming from different plants and primings from leaves of the same country. So while you can say it's a puro and it maybe will have a certain flavor profile, to me that's not necessarily true because of all of the other factors that go into when you take a plant from seed and by the time it ends up into your cigar. Yeah, everything comes from the same country, but there's so many different things that can happen and so many different types of leaves that you can end up with a very distinct flavor profile from different Nicaraguan puros, for example, or Dominican puros, I think, have to me, some of the greatest variants, right? You can have a Dominican puro that's very mild and presents a grassy flavor note, and then you look at something very different like Phil Cigar, right, which is a Dominican puro, but doesn't have that flavor profile at all. So to say that, your favorite puro or whatever is kind of weird because of those different factors.
Yeah, I think sometimes we have stereotypical views of a puro. A lot of times Nicaraguan people think of, spice, earth, and coffee. And then I think Dominican, a lot of times people think grass, hay, black pepper. And I think Honduran, a lot of people think earth, earth, earth. I mean, what about in terms of, are there any other, but Paul, you made a good point, and I think it has a lot to do with what you just said. Those other variables really can go into changing that flavor profile in the puro.
Yeah, I think you almost have to limit it down to, let's take how you process the leaf once it comes off the plant. The way you create a Maduro wrapper versus the way you create, or the way that you would have a Cameroon wrapper or a Criollo is extremely different, right? The Maduro wrapper is a good example because the fermentation process is very different from any other wrapper that it's going through, right? I mean, they're doing stuff purposely to change the flavor profile of it. So you almost have to say, well, if it's a puro and it has a Maduro wrapper, maybe there's a flavor profile that more closely will match that. But the other thing is interesting is, in a lot of the cigars that we review in the Stogies of the Week, you'll hear us talk about how it's Nicaraguan and the wrapper is from Esteli. or all these different growing regions within the country, those different growing regions produce tobacco that can be completely different, right? Those plants are grown under different regions that even within those regions have different growing conditions.
And what, excuse me, and
Go
what
ahead,
the big
Steve.
thing is not only that, it starts right with the soil. The soils are so
Yeah,
different
and the
that
soils are-
changes
right.
that particular leaf. That has almost, if not the most important factor.
Right.
Fermentation plays a key, but your soil in Jalapa as Esteli to et cetera, really makes a big difference. And the positioning of that leaf in that cigar has a lot to do with it
Oh,
also.
absolutely. I mean,
Bill
Lajero,
really hit that
Lajero
last
is a
week, yeah.
definitely very different kind of leaf from all the other different primings as well. So I think it all depends. And that's the beauty of cigars. And I think the real art behind blending a cigar comes from playing around with all those different variables and getting that different tobacco and blending together a good cigar. I think a good example, too, is if you look at so on some of my list of the tops, Nicaraguan puros, right? Tatawaje, and specifically that black label Corona Gorda, right?
Ooh.
We already talked about that cigar this evening. In fact, it's a fantastic cigar. Compare that cigar to one that just flashed up on Mark Jr.'s screen when he was looking through our box worthy cigars. Is that Davidoff Nicaraguan, right?
Yeah.
Totally different profiles there. And those are both, correct me if I'm wrong, Nicaraguan puros.
Oh yeah, they definitely.
I think this year is going to be big because I think if you saw what Pete posted about not being in the top 25 for the first time, that's going to get him going like no belief. I think he's going to be churning out some stuff that's going to be outstanding. Outstanding. It's going to not rejuvenate, but get his juices going even more like he needs to.
So what do you got? I mean, when you think Nicaraguan puro, which ones come to your mind?
Right off the bat, Pete.
Pete, yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's
right.
the first thing that
Yeah.
comes to my mind. Well, Pete, Pepin, I mean, you go hand in hand. That's where his tobacco comes from. I mean, Pepin is the man. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I'm sure Pete would tell you that he's the master grower. The man is incredible. I've never seen. I've been to his farm, and this is where to go off center a little bit. If you know a B&M that has a trip that goes to wherever farms that you may happen to go to, from Jewish States to
San
Latano, whatever it happens to be, I think it would be the most educational thing that you ever see in your life. It really is a neat thing. It truly, truly is. I think it's anyway. Go back to the other one, Padron. Look at Padron. There's another one that it's off the charts. I mean, both of them.
Yeah. No, Padron is definitely one.
But Pepin is incredible. He is incredible. He is the master.
That was
one of them.
that was the one that immediately popped into my head was Padron, and it's mostly because it's very different tasting tobacco than a lot of the other Nicaraguan.
I think what and not in any given order, when you go to the Pepins, you go to LFD, you go to the Padrones, what the most important factor is too is inventory. Having that amount of tobacco, the variances you don't see as much because it's a subtle change. It's because how many years and years of inventory that they have. I think that's a key point, and that's what same with Mr. Zengi. Same way, same thing.
Well, what are your thoughts on the Nicaraguan puros?
We talk a lot about Pete's, and Pepin, but there's another side of the equation too. And if you look at, there are some Nicaraguans that are more dialed back. And, one that comes to mind is, what the Nat Sherman Timeless Nicaragua did, where there's no Lajero in that cigar. So it's more of you really kind of hone more in on that earthy flavor too. And it shows the versatility of Nicaraguan tobacco. And it goes back, again, the variables we talked about, as well, the primings, region, soil. So it is interesting.
Yeah. Now, your fact on Honduran puros, as we were trying to be a Spanish.
Well, listener
speaking.
Ed mentioned that some of his favorites are Davidoff Nika and some Tatuajes as well. So.
But like I said, Honduran puro. It's funny. I have it's not one of my favorite. It's just not.
No, it's not. But there's
That Aroa
two that come
Prensado.
right-
The Aurora. I mean,
That was on my list.
I couldn't believe it. I just that blew my mind. What he did.
Well,
with
that's
that
what
was
got me
amazing.
thinking about, if you take the different growing regions in
Right,
Honduras,
exactly.
I think Christian came up with the perfect blend of Honduran tobacco in that Aroa Prensado. It was so different from any other Honduran Puro, and it was just awesome presentation
that's
of
one
that
of the best
tobacco.
I've
And I
ever
think
had.
he really had to work with the different growing regions and different fermentation processes and different primings and different plants to get that blend. Because I think out of all the puros out there, right, Honduran puros tend to really, like Will said, embody that earthy flavor. And that Aroa Prensado did not have that flavor profile. It was one of the first ones for me, and maybe you guys can think of some other ones that really stepped outside of that Honduran puro type profile.
I think the J. Grotto Lancero is a good example too.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
got like a spice and a crispness to it and a flavor
sweetness.
profile.
Yeah.
That really that steps outside of that too. Yeah.
They both have that earthy flavor, but it's
and
not
just
a
like,
dominant flavor.
I mean, he's new to the market by all means, and it goes on to Christian. Is Puro de Sol? You wouldn't believe that's a Nika Puro. You wouldn't believe it at all. It just doesn't have. It's totally different from what you would expect.
I look back at some of the Honduran puros, and if you go through some of the liberties,
Oh,
Yeah. Well, the
and
Liberties
you'll
have
see some of the differences with
Oh.
some of
the Liberties have some different tobaccos in them. Though,
Yeah, I
from
mean,
all
we're
the way
talking-
from
But there are some
Cuban to.
puros. There are some puros in that series. Like the 2012 was an all
Yeah.
Honduran.
That's interesting. I have a coffin on one of those, and I haven't smoked it yet.
I think
they're
that's
smoking
what they
smoking
would
so
do.
forgot
much
about
better
those.
now.
Really?
When they
It's
first
real
came in.
well.
Now, what about Dominican puros? I mean, that really runs the gamut, as well. I think maybe more than any other region, largely because of all the different regions and different kinds of plants that are available in Dominican tobacco, and similar to Nicaragua. There's a huge variance with Dominican. I mean, you look at everything from Opus X all the way down to Davidoff, and there's just huge,
With La Aurora and LFD somewhere in the middle, right?
oh, huge differences between all those different blends. So.
To get that, it's got to be such high primings on that. It's amazing, the difference in. I mean, someone thinks of a Dominican, they usually think of a mild-bodied cigar, and then you go into an Opus X. It's just totally different. It's a total different cue, total different animal in itself. It truly is. And look at an Esto, another one.
Yeah.
What he does with, I mean, the Dominican tobacco, what he can do also.
I love that Davidoff Colorado Claro Short Perfecto.
Oh,
man.
my
that thing
God.
is, out of all the
It's
Dominican cigars, maybe out of all the cigars that Davidoff makes, it's got to be one of the best ones out there.
I think of all the Davidoff they make, I think it's probably my favorite.
You think that's
And that
better
even
than
includes
the
Nicaragua.
Year of the Snake in Nicaraguan?
Oh,
No.
in my opinion, yeah.
No.
You think that's Davidoff's best?
No.
No.
In
Short
my
Perfecto?
opinion, yeah.
No,
I think so.
absolutely.
I agree with
Nope.
Mark Jr. That's the best for me.
No, that year of the snake, I'm sorry.
Now, it's not a puro that near
No.
snake, but it's got a lot of Dominican in
a
it.
lot of
I think
Dominican.
you're wrong. I think you're wrong.
I think you're both wrong, too.
Divided.
Hey, I'm sorry. That thing is just such a. And it knows
That is a very divisive cigar on the Stogie Geeks.
And not only Stogie Geeks, in the community of cigar smoking.
Absolutely.
I've turned down maybe a dozen people, and it's got to be 50% saying, "What are you and Coop thinking?"
It's the classic
I've got
50-50
that-
cigar, right?
It is. It
really is.
It is. Truly is. When I lit that thing up, I still can taste it.
See,
Very
and
unique.
I would rock one of those short perfectos all friggin' day,
All day.
without a doubt. I don't even think twice about that.
Oh, it's a phenomenal cigar. I mean, you're splitting hairs. I mean, it is what it is.
All right. Anything else
And
on Puros?
No, Puro Scotch? No? Okay. That was good.
One thing I just want to mention.
We got some good scotch tonight.
I know
man.
it.
We're living large.
There's one puro that kind of everyone forgets about, and I just want to mention it. And this is another one I find either people love it or hate it, but it's an American puro, and it was done by Pete Johnson, Casita Criollo,
Oh, yeah.
all Connecticut broadleaf.
Yep. The only thing on that cigar I found that it was a dry cigar. That's the only downside of that cigar.
That had to be one of the toughest cigars for him to blend because
Oh.
you're dealing with with one small growing region, really one type of
The flavor
leaf.
was really good.
The flavor was good. I think
there's
that probably
complexity
had to
with that
be
cigar.
it had to be one of the most difficult cigars to blend because he just didn't have that many variables to really play around with. So, the Brun Del Rey, right? What are those?
They're not all puros,
No.
but there's Costa Rican in most of those blends.
I got you. I thought they were Costa Rican puros.
No, but the Costa Rican tobacco, some of the way he used that was really unique.
Yeah.
I still can't get over that coupe.
Yeah.
I looked at it and I said, nah. I kept putting it away. I said, and when I lit that up, I was pleasantly surprised. Very much so.
I'm wondering. I think we may see a little spike in Costa Rican tobacco in the next couple of years. I think we're going to start.
Well, we
seeing
kind of
it.
saw that with Brazilian tobacco too, right?
Yeah.
There's some Brazilian puros out there, and I haven't
But-
smoked them. Well, I can't remember the name of the
But
one
there's-
that comes to
here's the
mind,
thing.
but
Go back. There's, we talk about, I don't want to go off the beaten path. We'll get to the next episode. We talk about the Sumatra. That Gran Cajono that Pete put out, 2012, I think that was the best one he did was the Sumatra. I enjoyed that immensely.
Interesting.
Anything else we add to this segment where we can maybe add on to the
I'm
next
trying to
one?
think. I meant to put in there the Brazilian Matafina
There's a couple
and the
Brazilian puros out
yeah.
there. Dona Flor makes some really good ones.
What
They
was-
make an old Matafina puro.
There was one out there that I wanted to smoke, and I never. And it
Monte
was
Pascal.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I think we have some down in Charlotte.
If you
that's
get
a
some
nice
of those,
one to
I really,
smoke.
I
Yeah.
really want to try it just because it's not readily available anywhere, and I had to kind of go out on
It's
the
a nice
internet and find it.
one.
But
That's another good pairing.
The interesting thing about Brazil, what I learned about, is they have such a strict process for getting blends approved. That's why you don't see a lot of these Brazilian companies produce
Yeah, it's
year after
interesting.
year blends.
That's an
because
interesting
it's
fact.
very hard. Their regulations there is what I learned.
Okay, so on to box-worthy cigars. I realized the like last week, or when I was putting together like our list of segments that we're going to do, that one of the things I looked at was the number of box-worthy cigars that we've rated on our show. Now there's over 300 box-worthy rated cigars. Before the show there was 309. I'm sure after tonight's show there's more than that because we've rated cigars. Now 309 plus is the total number of entries that we've put together for box-worthy cigars. Now, I may have rated the same cigar box-worthy twice, and that counts as 2. The other 3 members, and Tim included as a 4th, right, who's rated cigars for the show as well, there could be another 4+ entries for that one cigar as box-worthy. So I think it was Punch Nubbit in the chat talked about relational databases. There may be a way to do some math to be able to figure that out. So take that 309 and plus with a grain of salt. It's not really 309 boxes. It's actually less than that because there's overlap, right?
All right.
Well, it's smoke. It's per smoke.
Yeah, it's
so
per
when you
smoke,
smoked it,
right.
we rated the smoke.
So a great example of that is the EP Carrillo Edition Inaugural 2009. I reviewed that at least twice as box-worthy. Others have probably rated that
Box-worthy.
box-worthy as well. So that's probably 6. There's 6 or 7 entries of that 309 that is that one cigar. So I wanted to go through our box-worthy selections because no one can have 200 or 300 boxes in their humidor. Well, you can, but most of us probably don't because you're buying
I
single.
haven't got a box at all.
Yeah, you're buying singles a lot too, and those are taking up a lot of room in your
Yeah,
humidor.
exactly.
So I mean, unless you've got a gigantic humidor that can
Like
store
you.
under a
Who
box,
has
like
those?
me. Yeah, but I mean, still, you're not storing 200 boxes as we've rated them in your humidor,
But
right?
between the 4 of us, there's a little bit of boxes. to
Well,
be
yeah,
had.
maybe between the 4 of us, we've got that. So I started to come up with a list of kind of like my highlight reel for our box-worthy cigars. And the way I did it was I started with some of our more recent ones, and then I went back to the beginning of the show of the ones that I had rated box-worthy, and I plucked some of the gems from there. So I missed everything kind of in the middle, but I wanted to go to beginning and end because I wanted to see if the ones I rated a long time ago would really stick out in my mind as being box-worthy. So I'll start with some of the older ones. I'll work my way up, right? The La Aurora Cameroon Preferido number 1. This is the largest Preferido size that La Aurora makes, and they made it in the Cameroon blend, and it is just out of this world. I haven't smoked one in a really long time. Stogie Sandy, you had some like kind of tucked away in the back that were well aged kind of thing, because they're expensive sticks.
Yeah.
And they're probably not big sellers either. It's one of
No,
those.
they're not.
I think it's like a hidden gem in the cigar world. If you can find that Preferido #1 in that Cameroon wrapper, I'd love to smoke one fresh. And I tell you what, the older ones smoke just awesome. And that was a box-worthy rated cigar for me. Some of the ones we've talked about more recently, right, is the Arturo Fuente Hemingway short story Maduros. Box-worthy all day long.
Yep.
And in that size, you're smoking a lot of them, too, because it's a short smoke and just smoke them. Going back in the archives again, Tatawahe RC 184.
Oh, what age?
And the hype that Stogie Santa built for me in this cigar, I think played into it, but it lived up to the hype. Because you had given me one that was well aged.
Oh,
Because
that thing.
Pete came out with them a long time ago, and they were really hard to find for a long time, and then they started to resurface. And I tell you what, this is just one of those gems in the 180 in the Tatawahe line. And he made an RC 184 and a 223. The 184 is the one you want to get, and it is just absolutely fantastic. To kind of bounce over to the Cuban end of things, we've done a lot of segments on Cuban cigars. I think that the box-worthy one for me that I found that I rated a long time ago is that Monte Cristo Edmundo. And say what you will about the big Cuban brands, man, smoke a box of Edmundos. Like, smoke one and try and stop. I challenge you. You will not be able to stop smoking these. It's one of the most versatile, I think, Cuban cigars out there. You can smoke it first thing in the morning with coffee. You can smoke it after breakfast, lunchtime, after dinner. It's always going to deliver. In my experience, they burn great and just produce fantastic flavor. Have you guys smoked this particular Cuban cigar?
Absolutely.
Stogie Santa, we've smoked a ton of
yeah.
these.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Now, have anyone smoked an EP Carrillo Edition Inaugural 2009? This was EP
Yes.
Carrillo's first
I had
cigar
it
he
on my
released.
list too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I love that cigar. And
I'd like to smoke one recently. I actually sold a box of mine because I had too many boxes.
I
in my
got
humidor,
3 boxes left in the back.
but I would be
I
curious
got
to see
a
what
box
this is
at home.
smoking like now.
Some
You know what,
people
the
are saying
shop
it's on the
come down here
downside,
has
but
'em.
yeah, I have them, so I got a box at home too. I got 2 or 3 in the back room.
I mean,
smoked
these
a
are going
box
on
of those.
5 years old.
Mm.
I smoked a couple of boxes of these. I love them.
Yep, my second.
I think
favorite.
I don't know. I love them more when they first came out, though. They had a real punch when they
Yeah.
first came out. They did lose.
I don't think they were ever that strong, and that was
No,
one of,
but they
that's
had-
but that was
Yeah.
one of a lot of people were kind of didn't like it because they figured with EP they're gonna have a punch to it. It just the flavor was just full flavor. The flavor was incredible. And that I'll tell you what, behind his 2009, his second one was the 2010.
Oh, that's an
I have
Oasis.
the- I have the
That's
10
not
on my
box
list.
worthy. That's
Yeah.
Oasis.
Yep, 2010 is all day long.
2010 is
Yep.
his best cigar, hands down, in my opinion.
That's an interesting. You think that's the best, hands down?
Oh, hands down. Have you've smoked that, right? We got you one, right?
No, I've never smoked one. No.
We'll get you one.
That
try
one,
one.
he did that 10 for Federal in the #4 Corona size. Wow. That,
Oh, I didn't
that-
even know it. I forgot that he did that,
Yeah.
Will.
Wow. That's Oasis level.
You talking about the
Yep.
small size, the Corona size?
In the
He did a
2010,
short
really?
Run 2010 blend.
Oh, a short run.
For
For Federal.
Federal.
I got you.
That was a 2010. I didn't know that. They come in a Corona, didn't they?
Yep.
Yeah. I have one
Well,
sitting in my
it-
humidor.
No, they come in the 3. They call like the sizes that are. They have the Robusto, the Toro, and the Gordo with each of those ones for the most part. But this was like more of a traditional 5x42, a #4 size. That was only to Federal.
5x42. Yeah, Adam Love gave me one. I still haven't smoked it yet. The
Oh, you gotta smoke it.
ATL.
The
That's a special cigar.
He's reminding us that the Alancos was supposed
The
to
Alancos
Yeah, the
was
Alancos
based on that. It was based on it, but it
was not
wasn't
the
the same
same.
cigar.
Well, no. The Olancos was based on the Edición Limitada.
Right.
2010
The
edition.
2010, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was talking a short run.
Yeah.
Okay, you were talking short run, Will,
Right.
I
which
was
is a
talking
different
short run,
blend.
that's
Yeah.
Yep.
Totally
Okay.
different things.
I had on my list this one that's kind of weird, and I went back in the archives, and this one was only, I don't know if it was only available in a gift set. It was the Cusano Corojo Vintage 1997 Torpedo.
Oh, that's the only time I've seen it. So I don't
It's
know.
in the gift set.
Oh,
I rated
remember
it
that?
as
Oh my God.
that cigar was just unreal. And it's one of those weird ones that we'll probably never see again, but I was reminded of it when I went back through the archives, and man,
That was a special smoke, wasn't it?
oh, I smoked every single one of them I got in those gifts. I think I bought a gift set with the intention of maybe giving it to someone as a gift, and that went right out the window because I smoked one of those 1997 torpedoes, and I was like, I got to smoke more of these. And I smoked every single one of them. So if you can find those gift
Did you
sets
give
somewhere.
the person the gift set with?
I gave him some other kind of gift, but it wasn't that. I had, of course, my favorite Añejo, which is the number 77 Shark. Those are certainly box-worthy for me. Also, the PG Symphony Salomon. I think the Salomon still remains one of my favorite PGs, probably maybe of all time.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Going back in the archives now, Camacho 1118 Connecticut. That's one that we'll never see again. And those were certainly box-worthy for me. Yeah, I've talked about those before, so I won't belabor the point. But I saw a picture of one in kind of the archives, and I was like, well, I missed that cigar. For me, one of the new ones that we've smoked recently, and granted they're a sponsor, but I have to say, on my mind the past couple of weeks, of a box-worthy cigar of something new that I've smoked, is that one that you reviewed this week, Will, is that Debonair Saguita.
Oh, I agree.
I tell you what,
That's a special smoke.
I got to have a box of those in my humidor. I really do, because it's just such a special smoke. When we smoked it on the show, and the previous times I've smoked it, it really stands out to me as being super special.
It's
We took that. We took Debonair on as a sponsor because we believed in that cigar. It wasn't because they became a sponsor and we smoked it. It was the other way around. We really believed in that cigar, and we happened to then get a connection with Phil.
Right, and
It's a
that's
special
I was
cigar.
at the show, and that's when I really.
I
first
remember
ent-
when you came up
Yeah,
to me.
I
Did
said,
you smoke this? Yeah, and you
you
stuffed it in
gotta
my pocket.
smoke this. And I said, yeah, and I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did I ship one to you?
You
Did I give you
gave
one?
it to me at the show.
At the show, was it? I don't know
And
what I did.
I took it home, and I
Oh.
waited because I didn't want to smoke it right off the dry heat. And you're like, did you smoke it? And you were worried I didn't smoke it. I said, no, I just wanted it to settle.
Right. Oh, it's right off the bat. Right off the
Yep.
bat. It's a special smoke.
What else is on your top of your box-worthy list, gentlemen?
I looked at things that I've bought boxworthy, right, and I've viewed to this point the Robusto size in the EPC short run, excluding the 2010 because I've never had it, as all boxworthy.
Right.
That Bombones, the Esquisitos, and then this year's 2013, it was named the Robusto.
Oh, the Robusto was.
I think that's that. They've always been boxworthy to me, and if they came out in the size in a Robusto this year, I'd have bought a box of that without even thinking about it. And then I tried to think of like vendors, like and what was boxworthy with them, right? And then so I went to Tatuaje, and we've talked ad nauseum about a lot of different Tatuajes out there, but one Tatuaje that sticks out to me is boxworthy, and I would buy many more boxes of them. Is the 7th. In the natural,
And aged those. Oh.
and age the shit out of them, right? And they're just great,
There they are.
And then I thought about Illusion, right? And I'm gonna leave out the Singular Phantom because I think that's better than Boxworthy, right?
Yeah, it's Oasis.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. But what I would go to from them is a box of MK Ultras.
Oh, that's
Right?
I'm on. Oh my God.
That's what I would go Boxworthy, 100%.
Yep.
I went to La Aurora, right? And there's a lot of La Auroras that we all love, right? But the Diamond Preferido, that one that sticks out as boxworthy to me. I think that's a really great cigar with tons of aging potential. That's also a key thing for me that's boxworthy as well, because I never get the time to like tear ass through a box and smoke it all at once, So it's got to be a cigar that ages well for me to
No, it's a great
consider it
point.
boxworthy.
Great point.
I thought back to Oliva, right? And I think back to the, the what is it? The number
Master
4?
Blend ones.
No, number 4.
No, the little petites.
the little petites.
the Oliva
That's
Milano.
a boxworthy.
Yeah.
No, not the Milano. The regular
Oh,
Series
the number
V,
4. It's the
number
regular number 4.
That's a box
Oh,
When
worthy
they do it-
cigar to me.
yeah.
Yep.
I heard they're coming back. The V4s.
I hope so.
I've
That
heard
would
a
be
rumor that they're
fantastic.
coming back.
I'd rock out on a box of those.
I
no
can't.
doubt.
Don't confirm that, but I've.
I'll have to talk to my rep about that.
When I
Yeah.
think of Oasis or Opus X's, right? I go to the Power Ranger, the Triple X. That's a box worthy cigar
Oh.
for me. Let's see what else. What was one other one that I wanted to point out too? Oh, Paul Grammarian, right? You said the Salomon, Paul. You know what I go with? I
Yep.
go with the
Connoisseur.
yes, the Symphony 20 Connoisseur.
I agree.
Is that the small little one?
No,
or-
that's the
No.
Toros. It's like 6x54.
Sublime size
Yep.
Toro, yeah.
Okay.
That's one that I would say is box worthy to me all day. Padron, right? Box worthy to me is the 4000, the torpedo,
6,000.
6,000, 6,000.
Some
I
age on
always
that.
screw those up.
Oh,
And then just as an off the wall one, right? I think the Kane F Lancero.
mm-hmm.
Oh, we smoked that one on the show.
Yeah, that's another one.
That's a good one.
So that's the
Great
way I
stuff.
looked at it when I thought about it. Things that I've bought that are box worthy that I would continue to buy, again, would recommend to anyone. Not only because they're good now, but they have tons of aging potential as well.
One thing that made my list that I don't know if you can't really say it flew under the radar, but it was such a small release, was the 356 on the aging room, the little Presto. Oh, I tell you, all day long.
High five on that
Yeah,
one.
we got 2 boxes left, but they got names on those. Those are not going to be to the public. I'm telling you that is a special little blend. I
want to
really
get those now. I heard that they're running out.
hmm
I heard the run's over.
Yeah,
Pretty
it's
much.
done. It's done. It's a very special cigar.
That's a cigar where size matters with the blend, and it's
Oh,
much better.
isn't that the truth? I mean, the difference between that and the Rondo you can taste. I really do. And another one that I really, I buy Pepin. I think it's one of my favorite blends of Esquisitos. Box worthy all day long for me.
Good call. Good
I
call. The
love
blue.
that.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that blue label, in my humble opinion on Pepin, that blue label is represented so well. Everything about that cigar is represented in that blend. Is phenomenal. What Pepin does with that is extraordinary. And we go on Lanceros, a sponsor of ours. I got to go in there. Is J. Grotto Lancero, box worthy all day
Great.
long. I think it's a special cigar.
When they were first coming into the shop, I bought a box from Paul, and I had him sign it, and I kind of just left it in my humidor, and I really want to see how those age.
It's really
They're smoking great.
They are. They're a very special
And
cigar.
for the price point, to have a box of 10 of those is not a big investment. And
No, it's not. You're talking $80 for a box.
Yep.
That's insane. That's the best under $100 value on the market. I'm sorry.
That took
Well, you
that
know,
Reserva blend to another level.
Yeah, it truly did.
We may have to do a Lancero segment on the next show because you think of the J. Grotto Lancero and the K&F Lancero, they're around the same price point, and you got to have a box of each one of those in your humidor. And then you go to the opposite end of the freaking spectrum.
Hey, I got another one we could
You talk
add to
about
that,
the
too.
Lost City, which is at a $30 price point. There's just a lot of Lanceros out there that we rate very, very highly, and I don't think a lot of people are smoking. And maybe not our Stogie Geeks listeners. I think it might be a good mixture. But certainly, the guys that are buying that $6, $7, $8 6x60, maybe you get them to gravitate to something like a Lancero with a little bit of education. So I think it'll be a very good segment here on the Stogie Geeks.
I want to say something, right? The J. Grotto Reserva really took that blend to another level. We said the Kane F, right? The Lancero really took that blend to another level. Coop and I were talking earlier about another one that really brought a blend to another level, and that's the 724.
Oh my goodness.
That's a
I smoked
box-worthy
today,
cigar
yeah.
as well, and
I
that
never just talk about it. But yeah.
that Vitola really shows off that blend.
Wow.
And I got one. I got 2 to round out the list, and I'll stop here. Padron 35. Talk about a little petite that's just out of this world. And the natural is another one I love smoking in that particular blend.
Yeah,
I truly, and last but not least, not La Casita, is the La Riqueza. I'm telling you that there's a blend a lot of people just don't understand. I'm telling you, it's a special. I think it's the number one. I can't remember the names. I don't have it in the store anymore, and I can't wait till those get released. And that little Pete broke the news on Stogie Geeks. That little Lancero sampler that's going to be in there. It's going to be the Larraquez. It's going to be with the
Eltreon Fedora.
Eltreon and Casey's L'Atelier, his Lancero, which is and the one I had, they're going to tweak that blend a little bit more. That's going to be special. So very, very good. Anyway, Coop.
So I think we all took a different approach to this. What I did is, you guys have done a lot of great work before I joined the show, and I went back into the archives. And for the most part, I looked at what you guys rated as box worthies, and then I'd say, all right, would I bring these into my humidor? Now, I'm going to probably piss a lot of retailers off, because what happened is, as I started doing this, I couldn't put, Paul said you can't put everything in the humidor, but there was a trend. I ended up going for more of the limiteds, just because I can't get them. But I did have some core ones in there, and I'll go through some of this. I started off with, from a core line, the original Cabaguan by Pete Johnson.
Great call.
Yeah.
Great call.
I love that cigar, and it kind of gets forgotten about.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no
I
doubt
think,
about it.
a lot of the early box-rated ones, Will, it's funny you say that. Tim Margarini was big on the Cabaguan Guapos. He was buying boxes of those and smoking through them at a good clip. So I think there's really something to be said for that.
And even the natural was very good, too.
He had a review of the natural that was box-worthy
telling
on it.
you.
I'm telling you, he was on something.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned Tim, because it was another cigar that I pulled, and it's one that doesn't get a lot of attention because it's a small company, and it's probably the forgotten blend from this small company. It's the Elohio Habano Robusto.
Another favorite of Tim's, which is funny.
Yeah, that Habano. I mean, everyone talks the LSV, which is a very good cigar, but I love that Habano Robusto. To me, that's the best cigar one of the best cigars Elohio makes. So I had that in there. It's a box-worthy cigar, and that was one of his. I had I noticed it may not be as popular a choice, but I was a big fan of the Singulare Maduro from 2012. In fact, that was a Chuck Norris cigar in my book. I really liked that one. Now, I would agree with the Phantom is probably an Oasis level one, but the Singulare Vermonter Maduro, someone had it as a box worthy in the archives, and I agreed with that. The Cajonio 2012, I know we talked to Sumatra, but I still like the Habano in that. And the Sumatra is a very good cigar as well. But the Habano, the Sumatra took a little more to grow on me. The Habano was great for me right out of the gate. EP Carrillo, the inaugural 2009, Paul talked about that. Mark, you talked about this cigar a while ago on one of the archives, and I agree with you on this. Avo 2011 limited edition. The 85th. Chuck Norris level in my book. And when I was driving down to Florida, when I tend to make these trips, I tend to put Stogie Geeks podcasts on. You hit it on the head. There's a lot more strength in that cigar than I think a lot of people. It's not it's not the strongest Avo, but it's not your weakest Avo either by any means.
No, it's a little bit different than the mainstream perception of that brand.
3 years old, and its age still keeps its age. I've smoked one recently, so it's Chuck Norris level actually in my book. Short Run 2010 I mentioned as well. Liga Privada UF4, which was a manufacturer store release in Chicago. Really like that cigar. I think if you like that UF13, I think the UF4 is it's got all the great qualities of what you like about Liga Privada.
That went through a couple different naming iterations too at one point. Wasn't it a JD4 at one point?
JD4, yeah. It went through a few of them. I got the one when it went to Casa de Monte Cristo in Chicago, and I smoked a few of those.
Yeah. ATL hooked me up with one of those. That still sticks out to me as one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's also Chuck Norris. A couple of others and round out the list. Tatuaje Face. I think that one kind of gets forgotten about. Very good cigar.
What is this?
The Face.
The Face.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's great.
someone had it as a box worthy, and then someone else had the original Viaje Satori Karma, the 2010 with the Oscuro wrapper.
Mm-hmm.
Still probably top 2, and I want to ask Andre quite a bit about that Satori blend next week.
No, I agree.
That wrapper was very delicate, and it was. Some people thought it was dyed.
Right.
I just think it was a very dark wrapper, and I like that
No,
cigar.
I can't wait to get the scoop on that wrapper
I just
too.
wanted
I know.
to add one more to the list because Nesta Miranda came into the shop and we're doing some different cigars, and I pulled out a Lancero on the Cameroon. It was about 3 years old, and he sat in the back, and he says, "I can't believe this. That is one of the top."
The
Lancero-
Aurora Cameroon?
Yep. The Cameroon. Oh.
Again, a Lancero
bro.
that just knocks it out of the park with age.
I mean, it's you never thought of Cameroon with age like that, and I wanted to. You know what's so funny? We're just enjoying the cigar so much together.
And to have
I wanted
Nestor
to ask
say
him,
that too, to validate what we've been
I was
saying.
just like he said. He sat there. He actually he was leaving our shop to come here to Havana's, and he says, "You just made." Imagine Nestor telling me I made his day. Imagine that. Can you? He says this is spectacular.
I'm glad you said that, Stogie Santa.
Oh my God! I just thought of it because as Coop was going through the list, he made that. But the Guapo, think we're all not that far away from what we're talking about, you know. And to come back and look at and a lot of it is, you know, think about it. Ernesto, Pepin, the masters of what it's all about. These people are just special growers of tobacco. There isn't. I mean, I'm not leaving anyone off the short list. I mean, Lido. We can go on and on and on. But these people, I'm just hoping that the next generation is learning. That's all.
I don't
asking.
think any of us mentioned an LFD cigar. Do you guys have a box-worthy LFD cigar?
Oh yeah.
What do you got?
I got.
Yeah.
I got to go. The Hexagon, the LG,
Americana.
the Americana.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my box worthy. Right off the bat, like that.
I'd say the small batch, or maybe the factory press. I don't know if you get a full box.
Or
of
maybe
those,
the Limitado. Or
no, I think
I know. I had to open it up, right?
if I have to look at my humidor and say what I have about a box of, it's that factory press.
Okay.
It's
What about you,
factory
Coop?
press.
You know, I definitely would put the small batch 3 if we were to kind of say, you know, box of 20 were available at that. I like the Oro Maduro a lot. The one that came out last year in the tube.
Ooh,
gold
excuse
tube.
me, please.
Yeah, those gold tubes are awesome.
We got an LFD Chisel Maduro
Yeah,
that
I
just
think
popped
that
up on
blend
the,
is
on the
really
chat room.
tasty.
The Chisel Maduro is really good. I'll tell you what.
I think the Cabinet Series L300
Oh.
is that
And 3 and the 4 are
the
the
3
best.
and the 400s, right?
Oh, and the aging potential off that is off the chart.
And that's
It's,
a really reasonable cigar.
Very,
too.
very good. And you want to get the Chisel. I'll tell you what. I buy. This wasn't by design. You know, I'm like a pack rat, and I put things in the back. And I'll tell you what, the Chisel, just the regular Chisel Maduro. I'm telling you, it had about 4 or 5 years of age on it, and that thing was off the charts. And last but not least, the El Jaco.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I bought a
El
box of those.
Jaco aged. I'm telling you,
Jaco
it's off.
Maduro.
Oh
I
my
bought a box
God.
of those too.
We got to stop because we're going to be here at 1 o'clock. We're going to we're going to keep rolling.
So
going
are there any contests that we need to update our listeners on? I don't think so.
No.
We're all updated except I think we
We need to air the video.
I'll
which
tell you what I'll do tonight. If we can think of something, I'll donate a 5-pack of J. Grotto Lanceros. If we can think of something, how about some kind of? I hate to do it on the cuff. I'm sorry. I should have mentioned this to you, gentlemen, in the beginning. I just thought of it. Would that be something we'd be interested
Well,
in?
what if listeners submit their top 5 box-worthy cigars?
And
we'll just
I'll
pick
tell
one
you
at
what,
random.
and what we'll do at random, the Foros will pick the winner.
Yeah, we'll pick a winner.
We'll read a few on the air.
Yeah.
And Zedman, I promise yours will get on the air.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
present man.
Okay, if you're hearing this.
Yeah. And what I'll do, I'll put for the 6th cigar, I'll put in the Lancero of the Cameroon of the
There you go.
La Raw.
All right, so here's what you got to do. You got to email the show at stogiegeeks.com. Email your list of top 5 box-worthy rated cigars. Submit that to the show at stogiegeeks.com. We'll pick a winner at random. You'll win 5 J. Grotto Series Lanceros and a bonus cigar of the La Aurora Cameroon
Aged.
Lancero.
Wow.
ATL, I'm with you. He says, "Don't read Zeds."
I blew it with Zed. I apologize to him. I missed Zed's list for the last one.
Wow,
Sorry
you're
about
never
that,
going to live
Zed.
that down, huh?
We'll get you. Next week, Andre Farkas of Viaje Cigars will appear on the Stogie Geeks show right here at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. StogieGeeks.com/live. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
We put a posting up on the regular feed.
Yeah.
On StogieGeeks.com. Please, guys. I know you guys have to have questions for Andre.
Yeah.
Please.
Submit them before the show.
Post your questions. We will ask the questions if you guys ask. Let us know.
Yep.
Get them submitted by next Wednesday or something.
We're going to try to have Andre for a little
by
longer
Wednesday.
than we normally have a guest, so depending on his schedule, obviously, but yeah.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. Don't forget to join your CRA Cigar Rights of America, and we'll see everyone next week. Thanks, everyone, for listening.